Hi and welcome to TTN Info TV SK channel. My name is Syed and here I am with the exclusive and updated world news for Friday 2nd June 2023. India and China hold talks in Delhi over border tension. Indian and Chinese foreign minister officially met in New Delhi on Wednesday to discuss bilateral issues and disengage their militaries at friction points along their disputed borders. The two countries share nearly 4,000 km undermarketed border that traverses the Himalayan from Ladakh in the north to eastern Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, known as the line of actual control. They have had frosty diplomatic relations since deadly clashes in 2020 when the troops fought in the Ladakh region. India's Ministry of External Affairs said a meeting on border affairs was held on Wednesday in Delhi. The Indian team was led by Shilpak Ambule, the Ministry Joint Secretary for East Asia, while Hong Leong, Director General of the Boundary and Ocean Affairs Department of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led China's team. It added the side discussed disengagement in remaining areas in a frank and open manner. The Indian ministry said restoration of peace and tranquility will create conditions for normalizing bilateral relations. China says its reporters in India about to drop to zero amid mutual explosions. China's government has said the number of Chinese journalists in India was about to drop to zero amid a string of mutual explosion of journalists by the two countries. Chinese authorities have since April 2023 effectively revoked credentials for 3 of the 4 Indian reporters accredited in the country. In early April, the Chinese Foreign Ministry froze the visas of 2 Indian correspondents, barring their return to China, while last month a third journalist did not have their accreditation renewed, leaving only one active Indian correspondent in China. Bangladesh bans first-class travel for government employees. The Bangladeshi government has issued a directive banning first-class travel for all government employees till further notice. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina signed the directive in the regard, her press wing said in a statement. To combat the COVID-triggered impacts as well as the global economic crisis, the government adopted austerity measures, reports Xinhua news agency. Saudi Arabia profession test mandatory for certain employment visa endorsement. Saudi Arabia, one of the largest employer for semi-skilled and unskilled Indian workers, began to conduct skill verification examination prior to endorsing employment visas in India. The test, known as Skill Verification Program, which is SVP, is mandatory for certain categories of jobs in the first phase and gradually it will expand to all other jobs. SVP has become mandatory for 19 professions in the field of electrical, welding, plumbing and a certain part of air conditioning. According to recruiting agency source, the Saudi Arabian embassy in New Delhi has informed recruiting agency about mandatory examination in precondition for endorsing employment visas of these jobs. Pakistan politics PTI President Chaudhry Parvez Ilahi arrested. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party President Chaudhry Parvez Ilahi, a close aide to former Prime Minister Imran Khan, was arrested outside his residency here on Thursday. The party said shameful how the regime doesn't stop their fascism. The inflation has skyrocketed to 38% and the response to their arrest, former CM Punjab Parvez Ilahi, absolutely ridiculous, the party tweeted along with a video in which the 77-year-old leader was seen being dragged by security personnel from his residency, Zahoor Ilahi. The former Punjab Chief Minister was arrested as he was leaving his house, the Dawn newspaper reported, quoting Ilahi's spokesperson Iqbal Chaudhry. Toyota disclosed data leak affecting 2.6 lakhs car owners. Japanese automotive giant Toyota has admitted another incident in which data of around 260,000 car owners was exposed to the internet for a decade. Last month, the company issued an apology after it discovered that nearly 2.15 million customers' partially data was made publicly due to misconfiguration of the cloud environment for a decade. Toyota has now identified another batch of exposed data that was potentially accessible externally due to misconfiguration of its connected cloud service. The car maker said it would notify customers with separate apology whose information was exposed. This incident also was caused by insufficient dissemination and enforcement of data handling rules. Since our last announcement, we have implemented a system to monitor cloud configuration, said the company. Sri Lanka cuts interest rates for the first time in 3 years. Sri Lankan central bank has surprised market by cutting interest rates for the first time in 3 years, a sign of confidence that the worst of Sri Lanka's financial crisis is over. Economic mismanagement coupled with the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic left Sri Lanka severely short of dollars for essential import of the beginning of last year, tipping the island nation into the worst financial crisis in 7 decades. The move signals a change of course to fuel a rebound in the economy as the island recovers from its worst over financial crisis. Questions raises over top leaders quitting Imran Khan's party. Former Pakistani Prime Minister has said senior leaders were pressured into leaving the party at gunpoint. More than 80 senior members of Imran Khan's political party have quit in recent weeks amid a nationwide crackdown in the aftermath of the violence that followed the ex-Pakistani Prime Minister arrest last month. The public announcement largely followed a striking identically script. The party leader would typically call a news conference often after being released from jail. They would begin their address by condemning the unrest before declaring their abiding commitment and love for Pakistan and its influential military. They would then conclude by saying they were quitting Pakistani Tehreek-e-Insaf party and taking a break from politics, or in some cases announces a complete retirement. India's economy picks up speed amid global slowdown. India's economic growth has accelerated 6.1% in the January to March quarter, boosted by government and private capital spending even as private consumption remains sluggish. Government data shows Wednesday reading showed India remain one of the fastest growing emerging economies, especially with China post-pandemic recovery stumbling. Despite risks emerging from a global slowdown, the government expects growth to be about 6.5% for the current fiscal year, which began on April 1. The risks are evenly balanced between the downside and the upside. V. Ananta Nageswaran, chief economic advisor at the finance minister, told reporters after the data were released. He said indicators such as car, steel, and power consumption for April showed a pickup in activity and a sustained growth momentum. Asia's third largest economy expanded faster than a forecast of 5% expected by economists question for a Reuters news agency poll in the last quarter of the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year, up from a revised 4.5% in the previous quarter. Football superstar Messi to leave Paris Saint-Germain at end of season as per coach confirms. Argentina football great Lionel Messi will leave PSG at the end of the season after 2 years at the club. PSG's game against Clermont on Saturday will be Messi's last match at the Parc Princes Galatasaray set on Thursday. Messi contract expires at the end of June. Italian government lifts restriction on export of military weapons to Saudi Arabia. The Italian government on Wednesday lifted restriction on the export of military weapons to Saudi Arabia, ending an embargo which began in 2019. The move was announced in a communique at the end of Council of Ministry presided over by the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The decision was made in accordance with the foreign and defense policy of Italy, the official communique said. Restrictions on the export of weapons from Italy to Saudi Arabia were imposed by the Italian government to prevent their use in the conflict in Yemen. The Italian government added today there is no more reasons to keep those restrictions standing any longer. Saudi Arabia's population passes 32 million census results show. The number of males reached 19.7 million, 61% of the population, while the number of females reached 12.5 million, representing 39%. The 2022 census was conducted in line with the best international methodology and by using satellite and self-enumeration technologies. Indian state Kerala to launch passenger ship service to Gulf as airfare soar. Kerala is the main source of Indian expatriate in the Middle East. Local government allocates $1.8 million this year to solve workers' travel problem. India's coastal state of Kerala is planning to launch a passenger ship service to provide affordable travel to Gulf states, local authorities said on Thursday amid soaring cost of air travel. Spread along the Malabar coast of India, Kerala is the main place of origin of Indian expatriates in the Middle East, with about 3.5 million of them living and working in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and other Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Many of Kerala expats are laborers for whom the increasing cost of air travel has been a major burden, especially during festive seasons such as the Hindu harvest festive Onam, the Muslim holiday Eid ul-Adha, and Christmas, when demand for flights soars. PT Joy, Private Secretary of Kerala Port Minister Ahmad Devar Kovil, told Arab News the state government is developing an alternative cheaper route through the Arabian Sea. This is necessary because during the festive season the airfare is very high and that prevents the blue collar workers and poor workers from the Gulf countries from traveling to their homelands. The expatriates are in a situation where they have to set aside the lion's share of their small earnings for travel. 8 groups on alert as Rohingya food ration drop below humanitarian norm. 8 groups raised an alert on Thursday that rapidly decreasing humanitarian assistance threatens the life of 1 million Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh as the UN has further reduced their food rations. Since the beginning of June, the UN World Food Programme food aid for the Rohingya in Bangladesh has been cut to $8 per month. The WFP first reduced the ration in March from $12 to $10, citing funding shortages. NATO presses Turkey to drop objection to Sweden's membership as summit looms. The military organization wants to bring Sweden into the fold in time for the summit in Lithuania next month. Turkey's government accuses Sweden of being too lenient on terrorist organizations and security threats, including militant Kurdish group and people associated with 2016 coup attempt. NATO on Thursday ramped up pressures on its member Turkey to drop its objection to Sudan membership as the military organization seeks to deal with the issue the time US President Joe Biden and his counterpart meet next month. Fearing that they might be targeted after Russia invaded Ukraine last year, Sweden and Finland abandoned their traditional position of military non-alignment to seek protection under NATO security umbrella. Finland becomes NATO's 31st member country in April. BRICS ministers meet in push to establish group as counterweight to West. Foreign ministers from the BRICS countries are meeting in South Africa from Thursday as the five-nation bloc seeks to forge itself into a counterweight to Western geopolitical dominance in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The talks are a prelude to an August summit in Johannesburg that has already created controversy because of the possible attendance of Russian President Vladimir Putin, the target of an international criminal court arrest warrant. It accused him in March of the war crime of forcibly deporting children from Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine. Moscow denies the allegation. South Africa had already invited Putin in January. South African authorities confirmed that foreign ministers from Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa are attending Thursday's meeting in Cape Town. The deputy minister is representing China. No agenda has been made public, but analysts said discussion would aim to deepen ties among existing members and consider as expansion of the group. BRICS is positioning itself as an alternative to the West and as a way to make space for emerging powers, said Cobus van Staden of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Militants kill Pakistani soldier guarding polio team. A Pakistani soldier was killed on Wednesday when militants opened fire on a polio vaccination team, the country's military said in the latest attack claimed by the Pakistani Taliban. Attempts to eradicate polio in Pakistan have been hit by attacks targeting inoculation teams that have claimed hundreds of lives in over a decade. Terrorists attempted to disrupt the ongoing polio campaign by firing on the members of the polio team, the military said in a statement about the assault in the former tribal area that border Afghanistan. A soldier deployed to protect the vaccination team was killed during an exchange of fire. Saudi Foreign Minister meets with Russian and Indian counterpart in Cape Town. Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs Prince Faisal bin Farhan met on Thursday with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sideline of the ministerial meeting of Friends of BRICS group in Cape Town, South Africa. During the meeting, the two sides reviewed aspects of friendship and cooperation between the two countries and ways to enhance and develop them in all fields. They also discussed consolidating bilateral and multilateral work regarding many fields of common interest. Prince Faisal reiterated the kingdom's position in support of all regional and international endeavors to find a political solution to the Russian-Ukraine crisis. The two sides also discussed the key issue raised in the ministerial meeting held under the slogan BRICS and Africa, the partnership of mutual accelerated growth, sustainable development and inclusive multilateralism. Prince Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah also met with Indian Minister for Foreign Affairs Subramania Jaishankar in Cape Town on Thursday. During their talks, the two ministers reviewed historical and solid relations between the two friendly countries and people and ways to boost and develop them in various areas. They also discussed enhancing bilateral and multilateral coordination on many regional and international issues of mutual interest. UAE announces midday break for laborers during summer months. Laborers in the United Arab Emirates will be afforded a midday break at project and construction sites from 12:30 pm until 15 pm, starting June 15 until September 15, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization said on Wednesday. A fine of $1,361 will be imposed on establishments that violate the midday break for each worker found working during the break, with a maximum fine of $13,612 imposed if multiple workers are working during the ban, according to the MOHRE. The regulation, implemented for the 18th consecutive year across the country, aims to provide a safe work environment for laborers and prevent health risks from unexposure during these sweltering summer months. According to the Ministry Acting Assistant Under Secretary for Inspection Affairs Mohsin Al-Nasi, according to Al-Nasi, the midday break has led to significant decrease in the number of cases of heat exhaustion and heat strokes reported in laborers in its implementation. The ministry said it would hold various awareness activities to ensure workers and employers follow the guidelines. Some jobs will be exempted from the midday work ban for technical reasons that require work to continue uninterrupted, the MOHRE said. That's all in today's headlines. Thanks for watching. If you want to receive more important headlines around the world, keep watching T10 Info TV SK channel by subscribing and hit the bell icon to receive notification.